What if the best career move you could make is to automate yourself out of your job? I'm Dina Levitan, and this is Automate Yourself Out of a Job and Into a New Career. Here's the thing, while everyone's worried about AI taking their jobs, some people are using automation to catapult themselves into new and exciting opportunities. They're saving 20 plus hours a week, creating space for higher impact work, becoming indispensable through reinvention, not repetition. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to Automate Yourself. Today, it's my pleasure to host Jacob Bank, who's the CEO of relay.app, a former Google PM director who has gone viral on LinkedIn for running his entire marketing department with himself and a team of 40 plus AI agents. Jacob, you've had a journey founding Timeful, working on Google Calendar and Gmail, and then launching relay.app most recently. Now you're a thought leader in the AI space. Can you give us a 60-second version of your career path?
Yeah. I've always worked at the intersection of AI and the social sciences. Once upon a time, I was 100% sure I was going to be a professor of computer science, and my research was on uh, the intersection of AI and time management. Like, why do we procrastinate? Why do we overestimate our future availability? Why do we think things will take so much shorter than they do? And then how can you build an AI system, like an assistant that lives within your calendar and helps you do those things? I've always been a bit of a productivity nerd, so this was a very natural thing for me to work on. Academic research ended up not being the right path for me. So I dropped out of my PhD to start my first company, which was a digital calendar called Timeful, where you would tell the AI assistant, I want to run 3 times a week. I want to spend 10 hours on my dissertation this week. I want to do this homework assignment before Thursday. And it would help you organize your calendar to get those things done. We then got acquired by Google. And I worked at Google for 6 years, where I led a product for Gmail and Google Calendar, among other tools. And then I left in 2021 to start relay.app. And here's why I was excited to start a new thing. I had spent basically the previous decade working on what I will call traditional productivity tools. A traditional productivity tool is an app on your phone or a destination in your browser where you think, now it is time for me to go do work. And you go load up Gmail, or you load up Calendar, or you load up Google Docs in your browser, and you click some buttons and you type into it and you do work. And of course, we are going to continue to do work in productivity tools, but the opportunity I saw, and this is not unique to me, but to everyone else working in AI workflows, AI agents, and AI more generally, I was really excited about the idea that we could create a productivity tool that wasn't a place where you go to do work, but something that actually does work for you on your behalf. And if we could figure out how to do that, we could make people a lot happier and less stressed at work. That was the goal, and so that's relay.app has been a long 4-year journey to get to the point where we are now. But that's ultimately what got me excited. If we can build a new type of productivity tool that does work on your behalf, that's going to have such a huge impact on all of our quality of life and every small business in the world.
Every small business and every big business, too.
Yeah, and I know less about big businesses because most of our target audience is small businesses. And so I don't know enough to reason about what it's going to mean for a multi-thousand person company. But for every 5, 10, 20 person company I've talked to, I've never talked to one who's like, we're so overstaffed. We just don't have nearly enough work for everyone to do. Everyone is working 5 hours a week. They're totally not stressed. No one on my team is asking me if they can get help with more budget or more headcount. Like, I've literally never had that conversation. The conversation always is like, ooh, we have all these big plans. We want to do more. I'm super stressed. I'm working all the time. I wish I had the budget to hire one more person. I wish I had the headcount to hire one more person. I have so much work that needs to be done. Like, that is the person that we want to serve.
Yes, and as an entrepreneur myself, I totally feel that. Other entrepreneurs I speak with constantly saying, I wish I could multiply myself. I wish I had 3 of me. And apps like relay.app are super amazing for people like us. So appreciate what you're building. Did you have like a moment where you thought, okay, AI is going to change how work gets done? You mentioned that you were working at Google at the time. How did you realize that you could make a difference in the AI
It was
productivity space?
definitely not one moment. It's changing every day. But I'll tell you a little bit about the thought process and kind of what's happened over the last 4 years. So I think the story is actually kind of interesting. So when I left Google, I had 2 ideas in mind. One idea was that we were spending too much time designing the buttons within productivity tools and not enough time helping people with workflows across those productivity tools. Because a very common situation would be like, I would talk to a Gmail customer and I would say like, look at our cool new reply button. Don't you love it? Like, you're going to be able to reply to emails so much faster. And people are like, yeah, whatever. Don't care about your reply button. Like, my problem right now is I have to update the data in Salesforce and correlate with that with the data with HubSpot. And then I need to update this Google Sheet. And then I need to make a new file in my Google Drive. And then I need to check the support tickets in Zendesk. And then I can reply to the email. And I was like, oh, good luck. Use the API. Hope you figure that out. But like, that's the real problem. That's why you need to hire people, because to do this more complex multi-product work. So that was instinct number one. Like, we're spending too much time on like the buttons and not enough time on the work people are trying to accomplish. And then second, AI is going to help somehow. This was in 2021. This was like a year and a bit before ChatGPT came out. It's more obvious now than it was then. But I knew enough, having worked in AI much of my career, like we were on the cusp of having the technology that could make more possible. And so that was the original premise. And so the very first version, the company was called Collab AI at the time. The very first thing we built, we called an AI project manager, where it would try to aggregate tasks you needed to accomplish across all your tools, whether it was your to-do list like Asana or your email or your calendar or your coding tool. And then it would help you kind of schedule those and figure out when you could think of it kind of like, we weren't sure, is it an AI project manager? Is it an AI assistant? Is it an AI chief of staff? That totally didn't work. It didn't work for a variety of reasons. The product wasn't good enough. User expectation, people weren't ready for it. We couldn't explain what it was. And we built a bunch of different prototypes that all had this spirit of like, can we build an AI-powered workflow that connects multiple tools? We eventually landed on employee onboarding as a use case. We're like, oh, what if the employee could show up on day one with a really nice personalized document that tells them everything they need to read, everything they need to know, everyone they need to meet with, and ramp them up. And we sold that to a bunch of HR teams. The timing here was important. This was in April of 2022, which is right when the tech market turned. Of the 20 that had signed up to be our design partners, 17 of them stopped hiring immediately. And then 2 of the 3 are still customers to this day.
Hey.
And so I was like, oh, shoot, like maybe this is not the right product to be in. Maybe HR, I don't have founder market fit with HR. I'm not an HR person. What do I know about HR? But it turned out we thought there was this general construct where like, employee onboarding is an example of a workflow that requires multiple different people, multiple different tools, some kind of pure automation, some human in the loop, some intelligence. And that's what led us to name the company Relay, thinking like, oh, it's a relay race. You do your part, I do my part, the computer does its part, etc. And then that kind of put us on the path to where we are today. But even with Relay, it's been a bit of a journey. First, we were a collaborative to-do list where you could automate some of the steps. Then we were an automation tool that you could add human in the loop judgment when needed. Then we were an AI first automation tool where the default step was AI. Then we became an AI agent tool. That's what we've been for the last 6 months, because as user expectations have changed, as AI models have gotten better, the opportunity to be more ambitious has just grown and grown and grown. And I think the next time we talk, we'll be an AI employee company. And when you go into relay.app, what you'll see is, some screen that's like, what is the employee you wish you could hire right now, but that you don't have the budget or ability to hire? Write down the job description of that employee, and we'll try to do as much of it as we can with AI. Obviously, we're not going to be able to do everything a human can do, but like, depending on the role, we might be able to do 80% of it, or 70% of it, or 50% of it, or even 20% of it could be very valuable to you.
Yeah, and what you were talking about with kind of decomposing all the jobs in the marketing organization into individual agents who can kind of collaboratively solve that problem. That's super intriguing. It's
Yeah,
a big trend.
and that's where we've had the best results, where people don't think of it as just like one specific task to automate. That's a bit too narrow. But you also don't think of it as one human employee, because that's way too broad and way too multifaceted. Like a mini employee that focuses on a specific set of tasks. So for example, we were literally talking, even at our company where we try to be so forward thinking, I was literally talking about this yesterday where I was like, oof, I really think we're underutilizing Reddit as a channel. Reddit is so important right now. It's the main knowledge base for all the LLMs. It's where people are finding out about, answers to different questions. We should really have a better presence on Reddit. Like, what if we hired a Reddit focused marketer that would look for all of our brand mentions on Reddit and alert us to the sentiment, look for all of our competitor brand mentions on Reddit, notify us about questions where we are a relevant answer, notify posts in our niche about AI agents or AI workflows or automations that are doing really well, which is a signal something resonates. And then I wrote out that little job description. And I was like, oh, wow, I can actually do all of that with AI right now. Like I can just spend an afternoon building all those AI agents and then they'll just work for me. But I think that this is a significant challenge that we've seen. Like if I face this challenge and I live and breathe this stuff all day, I teach it for a living. If I am still working on the instinct and the way of framing what I want the AI to do, there's a big journey that everyone else needs to go on because, we built this experience in the product where it's a natural language based workflow builder where you tell it what you want it to do and then it tries to build the flowchart for you. And it is really, really hard for people to express tasks and workflows in the language that makes it easy for us to create a flowchart of them. Like a very typical user prompt is just like, I want to connect calendar and Monday. It's like, okay.
Why?
Why? Like, and then after a long back and forth with a human, you get to the fact that it's like, they want, whenever a new item is added in Monday, they want to look in a specific field in Monday to find the right Google Calendar that a new event should go on, find the start date and end date and details from another column in Monday, and then put that onto the calendar and then send out an email notification. It is not natural to people to express the details of a specific workflow in a way that makes it easy for a tool like ours to generate a high quality flowchart for it. My claim and my hope is that people are more familiar with writing job descriptions and task descriptions. I don't know how well that will work, but like, I think people are pretty comfortable writing job descriptions that are like, I want to hire a virtual executive assistant. I want that person to help manage my calendar, give me briefings before meetings, help me follow up after meetings, triage my email, reply to some subset of emails, for example. Like, I feel like people are pretty good at articulating that degree of thing. Then the challenge for us as a tool is like, how can we then translate that abstract desire of like, I want to hire a virtual assistant to do these 5 things for me into an actual running AI employee? That's what will make or break the fate of our company. But it's a fun challenge.
Yeah, and while you were speaking, it was reminding me of the process back at Google and SRE when we were documenting the playbook. So here's all the steps we do to migrate this cluster in an outage. And then we could talk about, okay, now that we understand what's going on, what are the steps, what is the process? Let's talk about which steps make sense to automate, which set of
Right.
steps, and how do you compose that?
Yeah, exactly. And that is not a skill that comes naturally to everyone. SREs at Google are a particular breed who really think well in this sort of structured way and are trained to systematize things, but like this does not come naturally to everyone. And so it's the same. I remember like when I was managing teams, every sub manager on my team would always come to me and ask for headcount. Always. That is like the cardinal rule of management in every organization is everyone always wants more headcount. And I would ask like, what would this person do that you want to help you? And they'd be like, oh yeah, good question. Like I just know I'm overwhelmed and have too much work. Can I have more headcount? And I was like, it's probably true that you're overwhelmed and have too much work, but like what would the new person do and how would that help? And then often they would go through the exercise of like, oh, it's actually these 5 tasks that need to be covered. And by reallocating responsibilities on our existing team, we were able to, address those 5 needs. That was like the result of like 80% of my headcount conversations or 70% of my headcount conversations. And so now I think that question is, the starting point is the same, but we have a different tool in our arsenal. So emotion. I'm overwhelmed by all the things I want to do or all the opportunity I see, and I need help to get all this done. Next step, same as it always was. Write down all the additional things you wish you could be doing, like what specifically do they entail? And in the old world, you had 2 options. Reprioritize within your existing team or hire new people. Now you have a third option, which is like, which of those tasks that you want to be doing, or potentially which of those tasks that you're already doing today, could you delegate to AI to free you up for the other things that AI can't do?
Right. Do you notice any particular differences in shifting from using it as a tool to managing an AI team member? Do you think it's a parallel one-to-one from that same conversation you would have with your reports?
I don't know yet. That's still something that we're kind of exploring. Like right now, there's no credible product on the market, including ours, that feels like a true AI employee. It's just not, and maybe it never will, and maybe that's the wrong way to think about it, because there are some things that AI is way better at than people are, and there are some things AI can't possibly be as good at as people are, like creating human, real human authenticity and social connection. Like that can't possibly be true. And so I think the model that we want to end up is, I don't think we want to try to mimic humans. I think we want to say this is an AI employee. An AI employee is not the same as a human employee. An AI employee can do some things way better than a human employees can do. They can do things instantly. They can do many, many things at once. They can handle lots of data. They never forget anything. They always wake up on time. Like, here are the things that an AI employee is superhuman at. And here are the things that an AI employee obviously is subhuman at, or can't possibly do. And so that's why I think, AI employee is such a loaded word and a loaded term, and brings up a lot of different emotions for different people. But I think it's still a useful term to think about, because an AI employee is not the same as a human employee. You would not give the exact same jobs or the exact same guidance, but there are some similarities in how you should think about, like, what are the responsibilities I want this employee to have? Like, what guidance do I want to give it about how to get its job done? How much do I want to be involved in the final output that it produces, or in reviewing its work?
I'd love to dive a little bit deeper there. You were talking about the human skills that are complementing our AI employees in the future. How do you think about the human skills that are becoming more valuable as AI handles more routine work?
There are certainly a class of real world skills and real world jobs that become even more obviously irreplaceable. Like, I have 3 young kids. They go to daycare / preschool / kindergarten. Like, that is not going to be done
No.
by AI anytime soon. Like, good luck coming up with an AI robot that's going to take care of my 3-year-old. Like, and that I'm going to trust and going to have that warmth and that personal connection. Like, that's not changing anytime soon. Like, the nurses in the hospital, that's not changing anytime soon. The plumber who came and helped us fix like this really subtle pipe issue in between the floors of our house. Like, so there's a whole class of like real world jobs that I don't think are going to be suited to AI probably ever, and certainly not anytime soon. For those of us who are keyboard warriors, like, it's a little harder to make the claim that any of us are irreplaceable. I think there's sort of a hierarchy where the least replaceable thing is human connection and social bonding. That's impossible to replace. Now, for certain jobs, it's more and less important, but that's impossible to replace. Human experience that's specific to me and my context and everything I know and everything I've learned, that's pretty tough. There are people who have used tools like Delphi to create digital clones that are like surprisingly good if they've written a lot of content online, but there's still like a personality and an authenticity that is hard to replicate. And then there are like core strategic insights that may be hard to replicate. And the fourth is, humans can still interact with a much wider array of tools than AIs can, either because of, API availability, or just like the fact that we're so good at perceiving the world. I think that last one, like, that's going to go away over time. Like, we're going to get to the point where, like, right now, I'll give you an example. I have an AI agent that drafts our weekly newsletter for me, but it doesn't actually write the newsletter, because the newsletter program that we use, called Loops, doesn't have an API that lets you put rich text draft. Like, that's not a long-term thing. Like, that's the kind of thing that, like, within 6 months or a year, like, the AI is just going to write that newsletter for me 100% autonomously.
Like a blip in the matrix kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's going to go. But I'll give you another example where that I think you might find interesting. I create a lot of tutorial videos because education is a really important part of our tool and our marketing strategy. And I tried to push to the limit of like how much AI I could use in tutorial creation. Like, could I generate the voiceover with AI entirely? Could I generate the clicking around the screen with AI? Could I make like a fully automated video? Could I use a digital twin of myself? And what I found was the interactive nature of being in a live session with me, the authenticity of me making mistakes and stumbling, the fact that people build a personal connection with me over time. These are all like really important aspects of that marketing channel being successful. So that was a point where pushing AI further for that just didn't make sense, because it was watering down some of the unique kind of human benefits. And so one of the ways I think about it, like, as we all prepare our businesses for the future, what is more likely to succeed in an AI world and what is less likely to succeed in an AI world? So let's take marketing as an example. Writing SEO slop blog posts, less likely to succeed in an AI world. Like the barrier to creating those has just gone to zero. Pray and pray outbound email campaigns, less likely to succeed in an AI world. Paid ads, less likely to succeed in an AI world. Like the channels are all getting super competitive. What's more likely to succeed? People who follow me on LinkedIn or on YouTube because they have a personal relationship with me as someone they trust to teach them about the future of AI. More likely to succeed, because when some new AI model comes out, like, and I've shown people through like hours and hours of creating useful content that I can be trusted to create useful stuff, like they're going to follow stuff. Word of mouth is going to become more important. And so that's just one example in marketing, but I think all of us should think about that across all aspects of our business. Is like, in a world where AI is capable of like the vast majority of knowledge work tasks that we're doing today, what makes more sense for us to invest in and what makes less sense for us to invest in? That's certainly the lens I'm using.
Yeah, and where to invest your time and use the leverage that you have as a unique human being.
Right. Though maybe I have to admit, like when I use Claude as my primary chatbot tool, like it's pretty helpful at figuring out where to spend my time, honestly. Like when I tell it about our business and the context and where I'm spending my time and what I'm doing well, like it'll come up with some great ideas. Like you should spend more time on Reddit. And it's totally right.
Yeah, it's a good thought partner, brainstorming, getting
Totally.
ideas.
Yeah.
But you also have that intuition that that's a good idea, and so it resonated with you to
Yeah.
move forward.
Yeah. There certainly has to be some amount of judgment and intuition. We're like, and there are also strategies that like could technically work, but just don't fit my personality at all, and therefore aren't going to succeed for me.
Right, you have to match it to your
Yeah.
strengths and personality. Okay, for someone who's listening, maybe they're feeling overwhelmed by AI, maybe they're worried about the future. What's something you would recommend they do?
First, I do think it's important that we acknowledge that a large swath of jobs that exist today will not make sense anymore 5 to 10 years from now. Like there's a large swath of jobs that will not exist today that exist today that will not exist tomorrow. Like that's happened many times before in human history, but there will be a whole bunch of new jobs that are created tomorrow that we have to figure out how to do. And so the number one thing I would recommend is you have to spend time seeing what the cutting edge AI tools can do. And it's not enough to read blogs and it's not enough to watch YouTube videos. You have to actually try to do things with AI and see where the limits are. So like, and I take this to an extreme. I look at like every single thing I've done in a day and I think like, what could I have used AI to do that I didn't? And I think that's the core technique, because that'll lead you to do all the right things. It'll lead you to invest in the right tools. It'll lead you to have the right mindset of experimentation. I don't think there's any one size fits all answer that's like, if you're a lawyer, you should go to this training course, or if you're a marketer, you should go to this training course. I don't think that's quite the right way to think about it. I think the right way to think about it is like operate from the assumption that your job will look totally different 3 years from now, but no one knows exactly how. So you should put some time and effort into inventing it. Otherwise, someone else will invent it for you.
I love that. And when people ask me a similar question, I think job titles will change. What we call ourselves will be different, but we still need people who are going to be solving problems creatively using the technology available to them. And so in the case of AI, that means getting your hands dirty, building, seeing what you can do and seeing how that can change and improve how you operate.
Yeah, and I'm an optimist in all this. I recognize all the challenges and why it's going to be hard, but I'm an optimist in the sense that's like generally believe people are really smart and resourceful, and it's like if you know your job well and you know what AI is capable of, like just invent the new version of your job. Like if AI is going to take the version of your job that exists today, well, what's the new version? Like start doing that.
Yeah, and I think that we're seeing that a lot in like the solopreneurs, the small businesses, as you're saying. These are the people who are now experimenting, kind of developing what this future is going to look like. And so I hope that we'll see more and more of that across the ecosystem, the exploration and invention.
We will. We certainly will, because it's a necessity. Like it's the only choice.
Is there anything you're building, learning, or excited about right now, either with relay.app or AI agents in general, that people should know about?
What I'm excited about now is kind of what I was mentioning to you at the beginning, which is there's a lot of tools out there that try to take a very specific task or workflow and automate it. Like when a new email comes in, classify it according to these rules, label it in this way, and then reply. And I'm interested in helping people solve the problem that's one step upstream of that, which is like, what do I want to accomplish in my business? Which roles would I hire for if I had infinite budget? How can I break down the goals, tasks, the responsibilities and tasks of those roles? And then how can we help people then formulate those into AI employees that work on their behalf? And so I'm still super excited about all the details of how you build these specific agents or workflows, but I'm personally spending more time on the question that's one step earlier in the funnel of like, which is like, what do I even want to achieve? Who would I hire if I could? And then where is AI appropriate to help?
Totally. What is the actual problem we're trying to solve here?
Because a lot of people, one of the things that I've struggled with is a lot of people think like, I know I should be automating more with AI, but I just can't think of anything. And they try to like rack their brain and think of specific use cases to automate. And they often get kind of stuck thinking through that. But I think the much easier question for people to answer is like, if you had budget to hire a contractor right now to help you, what would they do? Like, because that limits you less into like what you know AI can do today and makes you think more abstractly about what do I actually need done, and then you'll figure out what AI can help you with and what it's not capable.
Right. So what is the help that I want? Which parts of my job would I wish to do less of? Thank you so much, Jacob, for your time, for joining us on Automate Yourself. Really appreciate your insights and sharing what you've been working on and building, and look forward to following your future adventures and explorations on LinkedIn and all the other places that we can find you.
Thanks so much. Really nice to talk to you.
That's a wrap on today's conversation. Want more stories like this, plus tactical guides on how to start automating your work and how to dive into AI? Join our community at newsletter.collaborate.com. That's newsletter.collaborate.com. I'll send you real automation wins, practical tools, and mindset shifts to help you turn uncertainty into opportunity. Thanks for listening, and remember, the future belongs to those who automate themselves into it.